Kajwang is in the house. I'll give you under 1 minute to welcome this delegation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I join you in welcoming the boys from Orero Boys. This is the best school in my county. In the last exams, they posted the best performance. And it was not just for 1 year. It has been consistent over the years. Mr. Speaker, I joined the boys during their prize giving day, and I'm extremely proud of them. When we were there, we encouraged them to continue working hard and made it clear that leadership is not only about being a senator or an MC or an MP. You can be a leader in the medical profession, in the legal profession, and in the other professions. And Mr. Speaker, a lot of Orero old boys are doing extremely well in diverse professions. I want to encourage and I want to congratulate them. And when you go back, please pass my regards to your principal, my friend, Mr. Dickens Bula, the entire teaching fraternity, and especially the boys, the ones that we danced with that song of slashing people. I've just forgotten its name. Mapangale. You can trust Karen Nyamu to remember. We danced Mapangale with the boys. We had a nice time. We shall continue supporting you, and we pray that you'll continue leading Homa Bay County, leading Nyanza in posting good results. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Kajwang. Senator Eddy Oketch.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity. And also, may I take this opportunity also to thank amazing senators for their industry in the visit that they had, majority of it in the Western Kenya region. Mr. Speaker, perhaps you might not know, but I actually studied in the Western Kenya region. I'm an alumni of Friends School Kamusinga, which I'm very proud of, having been educated there and having been nurtured by the waters of FSK and under the leadership of Ambassador Simon Nabukwesi, who taught us a lot of things. And it is always very, very inspiring when you see a report capturing places like Kamukuywa, places like Kimilili, places like all the Kandui areas that these are places that went through sports. And, the senator of Bungoma will tell you that some of the produce that we see in this country, if you think about top 10 fresh produce, agricultural produce that you see in this country, certainly that region is the hub that feeds the nation. Of course, that also trickles down all the way to the regions of Nyanza, Homa Bay County, all the way to Migori County, not negating other places that also are feeding the country. So this is a very good report, and it's a good report in the sense that it touches at the core of our economy strength, Mr. Speaker. Strategic transformation of market infrastructure is indeed the only way you can be able to revitalize this economy, because any kind of produce that we are consuming in this country must find itself across our markets, Mr. Speaker. In Migori alone, Migori County, where I come from, the major markets that we have in Migori County, if I don't talk about the smaller markets, which, Mr. Speaker, we call Aswekra, from where I come from, but from where the senator of Mabay comes from, they call it Chumbo. The smaller markets that women go to and try and sell by sitting on the stones by the roadsides. They might not count, but they also comprise the traders who actually do contribute to our economy. But if you look at the larger market economy, where we've got bigger markets in Migori County, when you think about Mabera, when you think about Kehancha, this is in Kuria West, those are the two major markets that you will see there, together with Masaba. When you think about Getonganya and you go all the way to Intimaru in Kuria East, when you come to the main market called Marindi Market in Migori County, that is in Suna West constituency. When you go to Nyatike, you get a market called Wathonger. When you go further down in Nyatike, you get a place called Sori Market in Karungu. When you go to a place called Muru Bay, where all the fish that you eat come from, and the best omena comes from Muru Bay. Along that belt, there is Matoso Market. And when you come now to Awendo, where you get the Awendo Market, all the way to Rongo Market, And in Uriri, also we have got a place called Rapogi and Oria markets. When you look at these major markets, collectively, they bring about 1,500 serious traders that then build the economy of Migori County with the top 10 fresh producers that I talked about, fresh market producers that I talked about that are coming from Western. So, Mr. Speaker, we cannot thank this committee enough to go and look at these markets in the Western region that then actually are not dissimilar to other markets that we are seeing across the country, Mr. Speaker. Because some of the recommendations I've seen from these wonderful committees, and I'm happy that my brother, the Senator of Bungoma, Senator Wafula, who is in this house, together with Senator Abbas, that I can see, and I can also see Senator Oburu, who had the chance to also actually visit these markets. Mr. Speaker, the recommendations that they have made here are magical recommendations, because they give us some insight that sometimes are removed from even our day-to-day operations in our own counties. And Mr. Speaker, those recommendations, in my view, they should not just end at a point of simply being a wish for the county government to take action on. I wish that these recommendations, Mr. Speaker, that I'm seeing here can be able to be transferred or translated into pieces of legislation when you think about standard of markets. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage the members of these committees that perhaps they should consider sponsoring a bill that can be able to talk about standardization of the market infrastructure in county governments. Because then that will be the fire of baptism to the governors that we have, that you don't just go and develop market randomly. There needs to be some standards of how this market should look like. If you go to countries that have made strides, Mr. Speaker, across the globe, whether you go to Singapore or you go to the United States or you go to any country in Europe, whether in the UK, or even smaller countries within the region, like if you go to South Africa, for instance, compared to the United States, South Africa would be a smaller economy, but it's a good economy in the continent. If you go to these countries that have made strides, there is a clarity in terms of standards that must be there in a market. That you cannot build a market without some standards. So for instance, if you've got a market that has got capacity that we are being shown here, like places like Kandui, Kamukuyo has been mentioned, Webuye East has been mentioned. If you go to this market, Mr. Speaker, number one, you cannot lack disaster readiness and preparedness strategy and infrastructure. What do you do in a market such as Kamukuya or Kimilili for this matter, or even in Bungoma town, where there is a fire hazard in that market? How do you evacuate people in a congested market, and how do you make sure that you protect property of people who might not have the power to actually restock their goods or to reconstruct their infrastructure, like a small kiosk or a small stall that a Mamamboga might have been able to save for 3 years to put in place? So the first standard that must there be in a market should be fire or any disaster readiness and preparedness that can be able to ensure that that market is dealt with. Mr. Speaker, if you go to some of our counties, the firefighting instrument is lacking in all these markets. And if there is a firefighting instrument within that county, then it is so much spread that if maybe there is one fire engine in one corner of the county, and the fire that you find has happened is in the other corner of the county. By the time a response is given to this kind of disaster, Mr. Speaker, our people have lost a lot of things. Recently, Mr. Speaker, in Migori County, we had a fire hazard right in the middle of town at a place called Osaka. And Mr. Speaker, my heart bleeds because the people in Osaka, the place called Osaka within Migori town, right inside the market, lost a lot of things, yet Migori town and where this fire happened is the mainstay of market economy in Migori County. There was no proper response, and people who are some of them I grew up with ended up losing a lot of resources here, Mr. Speaker. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I cannot imagine a market without proper waste management and sanitation, Mr. Speaker. Why can't we pass a bill in this house that the money that we are sending to counties, if a governor chooses to build any facet of a market, then it cannot lack an infrastructure for waste management and proper sanitation, Mr. Speaker. We cannot go to markets where when you leave your house, because most of these counties tend to be rural counties, Mr. Speaker. And in rural counties, if you visit my brother, Senator Kajwang, you'll find that he stays in a very serene place, Mr. Speaker, facing the lake. And it's a very nice place, you know, very green, very lush, very nice, community living. But then, you can imagine people from his village, when they leave that lush place without any form of disease or any form of infection, just to go and buy their produce in a market, anywhere within Homa Bay County, just as an example, of course. And then you go to a congested place where the waste management is not proper. There are no toilets. There are no proper sanitation mechanism. And then somebody comes back home when they are sick. And they just went to fetch food. Why can it be a standard that our markets must then have proper sanitation, Mr. Speaker? This is a bill we can pass in this house, just by putting up standards to these markets, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in most of these markets that have been mentioned here, the vast markets that we have seen coming from Western Kenya, Mr. Speaker, they lack proper drainage when there is rain, Mr. Speaker. How can rain stand between our mothers and our sisters and our daughters who are in these marketplaces selling and making money, Mr. Speaker? That simple rain of about 30 minutes won't stop a market operation for the entire day, and that day people go home without resources, Mr. Speaker. We must be able to figure out these drainage issues. And of course, the issue of drainage, Mr. Speaker, go with the larger issues of vagaries of nature that makes it difficult for women, especially, who tend to spend most of the time trying to sell and make a living in these markets. Some of the vagaries of nature that are adverse weather conditions, Mr. Speaker, make it completely impossible for them to actually do business. If you go, for instance, in Migori County, I can barely mention 3 markets that have got proper shelter, or if you may, proper shades that can allow women to even go to the market at 2 p.m. Some women will prefer going to market, and even other younger people who are going to the market to sell, they will prefer going to the market as late as 4 p.m. when the sun is a little bit heading towards sleeping time, because they cannot be able to endure the scorching sun, Mr. Speaker. Why would that be? And then we are wasting their productivity when they're willing to go and trade to be able to contribute to our economy, Mr. Speaker. And same applies to rains, Mr. Speaker. When there are heavy rains, you find our people cannot be able to trade in these markets, just simply because there's no proper shade infrastructure in these markets, Mr. Speaker. That should be a standard. At this point in time, Mr. Speaker, there is nobody in our economies, especially after devolving a number of functions of government, Mr. Speaker, there is no reason why the market time for our men and women who are working industriously in our communities, there is no reason why market time must end at 6 p.m. just because there is no proper lighting in markets that then leads to security problems and insecurity issues that make people who are trading in our markets be able to leave the market, Mr. Speaker. These should be standards of our market, Mr. Speaker. And of course, Mr. Speaker, I cannot overstate the issue of how our markets are planned against a congested population, Mr. Speaker. You'll find that the connectivities of our roads, the issue of sometimes walkways, and the issue of sometimes even border borders and motorbikes, and even normal bicycles, Mr. Speaker, cannot be able to access these markets where they can be able to move goods easily among populations. Mr. Speaker, I don't know why county government don't see the issue of market planning as an important facet of their own source revenue. Because, Mr. Speaker, at the moment, a border person cannot be able to access a market infrastructure, or a bicycle person who is carrying simply vegetables from their farm, cannot access the market infrastructure because it's congested and not planned, what ends up happening, Mr. Speaker, is that a swath of them then simply resort to selling along the road. And when they sell along the road, Mr. Speaker, a lot of problems end up emanating for our counties. Because that selling along the road instead of where the market has been secluded for them to sell, number one, it becomes a health hazard. Because of traffic problems, I've seen a number of places, a number of times, Mr. Speaker, and I know you saw this in the headlines, when Migori County lost a lot of lives when traders along the roadside in the middle of Migori town who could not be able to access the market were faced with trucks that had lost control in the roads and hit a number of people who ended up losing lives because their only solution to their problem of access to market was to go and sell by the roadside, Mr. Speaker. And I have not even talked about the wastage of time that we end up losing productive time because of ensuing traffic in these areas, Mr. Speaker. So this standardization, Mr. Speaker, is what I wanted to invite this House to be able to look at, so that, Mr. Speaker, the idea of informal selling points that ensues in our counties, Mr. Speaker, as a result of not planning our markets can end in our counties, Mr. Speaker. There is always a directly proportionate return on orderly commerce between the revenues that the government gets and the revenues that other people also get who are trading in the counties, Mr. Speaker. And also, if you think about it, it helps with stabilizing prices. Because when people are selling on the roadside, Mr. Speaker, they tend to sell on lower prices that are not run by the market economy. Then that distortion makes it impossible for even the county government to collect maximum revenues that they can be able to collect, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to emphasize the issue of making sure that we can come up with a bill on standardization of markets, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, as I finish my contribution today on this particular report, I wanted to perhaps just mention by passing that, Mr. Speaker, we cannot talk about the issue of markets without looking at the issue of municipalities. Because municipalities, if you look at the Urban Areas and Cities Act, Mr. Speaker, that act sought to help county governments to be able to create municipalities that can work as agencies for revenue collection for particular functions that they will have delegated to those municipalities. And these municipalities are a big part of market economy and arrangement in terms of planning. And this has been dwindling because county governments are not willing to cede these responsibilities to the municipalities. They're not willing to allow that autonomy of municipalities to take shape, Mr. Speaker. In this report, you'll find that if you look at the allocation of money that were given to municipalities across Western Kenya, Mr. Speaker, they end up to be money that are limited mostly to recurrent budgets, Mr. Speaker. They don't allow these municipalities to take root and be able to affect the entire market economy, Mr. Speaker. Up until when these counties will understand, the executive of these counties will understand the agency relationship that they can have with the municipalities, Mr. Speaker, it will be very difficult to maximize the element of on-source revenue, Mr. Speaker. Because if municipalities are given that power to plan markets, to arrange markets, to be able to even think about revenue collection processes that are automized, Mr. Speaker, and I hope that in that bill, if it comes through, my brother, perhaps Senator Wafula, that bill should also look at automation in terms of revenue collection. You know, because you find that things like cess and those ropes that governors put across markets and taking money from border borders, Mr. Speaker, they are taken without any order. There is no automation of them. They are taken, Mr. Speaker, you cannot have a collection mechanism where money comes from the person you want to take it from, whether it's a border or whether it's a taxi rider, and then it is put in the pocket. Then you're hoping that from the pocket, it will go to the county revenue fund. It's not possible. The leakage is humongous, Mr. Speaker. And this is something that must stop when there is an intersection between the law that this house can pass and the autonomy of municipalities to be able to check and enable this market planning to take root and enable revenue to be perfect, Mr. Speaker. With that, I appreciate and equally support this report. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.